Welcome back to the English virtual class. Today, I'm going to take up the lesson Footprints Without Feet, written by H.G. Wells. This is an interesting science fiction story. In the story, we have a scientist named Griffin who turns himself invisible. Coming to the author, the author, Herbert George Wells, is a famous science fiction writer. Some of his famous works include The Island of Dr. Moreau, The Invisible Man, and The War of the Worlds. Coming to the story, Griffin was a brilliant scientist who invented a method whereby the human body could become invisible. He experimented on himself first of all. He swallowed some rare drugs because of which his body became as transparent as a sheet of glass. Two boys in London were surprised to see the fresh, muddy impressions of a pair of bare feet. As they were still gazing, a fresh footmark appeared from nowhere. They continued to follow the footprints till they finally disappeared. Though a brilliant scientist, Griffin was a lawless person. His landlord disliked him and tried to eject him from his house. In revenge, Griffin set fire to his house. He had to remove his clothes to get away. It was winter time in London. The air was bitterly cold, and Griffin was without clothes. Therefore, he decided to slip into a big London store for warmth. It was closing time, and as soon as the doors were shut, Griffin found total freedom to do what he wanted to do. First of all, he fitted himself out with warm clothes, shoes, and a hat. He found cold meat to eat and coffee to drink. He followed up the meal with sweets and wine. He didn't have to spend any money on all this. After having his fill, Griffin went to sleep on a pile of quilts. Griffin did not wake up before the store opened next morning. When he saw a couple of people coming near him, he began to run in fear. He was given a chase. At last, he was able to save himself by taking off his stolen clothes. Once more, he found himself invisible but naked in the cold January air. Now, Griffin decided to try the goods in a shop which dealt with theatrical items. He went into the shop. A little later, he came out wearing bandages round his forehead, dark glasses, false nose, moustaches, and a large hat. He also robbed the shopkeeper of his money. Then he took a train to the village of Alpink. Everybody in the village of Iping was talking about the stranger with such an uncommon appearance. He hired a room at the local inn. Mrs. Hall, the landlord's wife, made every effort to be friendly to Griffin, but Griffin plainly told her that he didn't wish to be disturbed. He also explained to her that an accident had disfigured his face. Since he had paid her in advance, Mrs. Hall excused his strange behavior. But his money was limited and it was soon finished. He pretended that he was going to receive a check very shortly. A strange incident occurred in this village soon afterwards. A clergyman and his wife were disturbed by noises in their house. They heard the chink of money being taken from the desk. On the other hand, Mrs. Hall and her husband were surprised to see the room of the scientist empty. There was nothing except the clothes and bandages belonging to Griffin. All of a sudden, Mrs. Hall heard a sniff close to her ear. Then the hat on the bedpost leapt up. It dashed itself into her face. Both of them turned away in terror. Paul fell down the staircase in hysterics. Now they were sure that their room was haunted by ghosts or spirits. Soon everybody knew about the theft in the clergyman's room and everybody suspected Griffin. The suspicion became confirmed when he produced ready cash. Earlier, he had admitted that he had no money. The village constable was sent for so that the culprit could be arrested. Mrs. Hall went straight to the scientist and cross examined him about his strange movements. She wanted to know how he came out of an empty room and how he entered a locked room. Her questions irritated Griffin so much that he lost his temper. He threw off his bandages, whiskers, spectacles, the false nose, etc., and the people were horrified to see a headless man. Mr. Jaffers, the constable who was also shocked to know that he had to arrest a man without a head. Jaffers decided to arrest the culprit with no head. He had to grapple with a man who was becoming more and more invisible. Griffin threw off one garment after another. Finally, a shirt flew into the air, and now the constable was face to face with an invisible body. Some people tried to help the policeman, but they received powerful blows from the invisible man. In the end, Jaffers was knocked unconscious. There were nervous, excited cries of "Hold him!" but all in vain. Griffin shook himself free and vanished from the scene. Here the story ends, children. I'm going to come up with another video next week wherein we are going to discuss in detail the characters of the story and also about the title and theme. Till then, bye children.